Hello and welcome to another episode of the Terry McGriff Show. Right here along with my illustrious co-host, Andre L. Sullivan. How you doing, Andre?
I'm doing well. Glad you looking at me and me looking at you.
I'm telling you, man, it's another day to be blessed, to be on top of the ground. I'm telling you. Well, it's been just an interesting week, man. This last weekend, it's had a lot of stuff going on. Wanted to just have another great conversation about some of the stuff that's happening out here. Jaguars talk, a couple of things of that nature. But obviously, once again, folks, if you like what we're doing here, please hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that like button. Once again, we're going to give a shout out to Watch Game Film, Team Sportswear Direct, the Women's Tackle Football League, along with the DEMP Project. Guys, I really like to say thank you guys for all the support you guys give us. Man, we're going to jump into these little subjects here. I wanted to talk about, obviously the Jaguars played their game last Thursday in front of national TV, and then, obviously they lost the last second victory. And the team went back to Jacksonville with the head coach, Urban Meyer, and then there was a situation. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about some college football here. As things starting to round out, who do we see as the top teams right now as we're circling? Kind of a all too early projection of who you think we're going to make the playoffs. And last but not least, we've had a lot of movement in the NFL, a lot of trades, a lot of stuff going on. And I want to just talk about that a little bit, see what, just gauging reaction to what's going on with a lot of stuff going on here. So let's get started. So as we just were saying, the Jaguars played Thursday night against Cincinnati Bengals up in Ohio. Obviously, Urban Meyer's up from that area, and they lost the game. And I guess they had a little party he has a restaurant or bar there, and he was caught on camera. I won't say he was caught on camera. It was caught on camera of a woman that was not his wife, basically, having sexual gesturing, dancing in front of him. And also there's a picture showing him, obviously, that he's a little intoxicated. You're in a bar, you're drinking. Okay, it is what it is. What I wanted to talk about is with the stuff that he's been selling, the credibility. He came out and said he had to go back and earn the respect of his players. And I want to know where, in my opinion, where that's coming from. I think you shouldn't have to re-earn the respect of your players. If they know you, they understand what you were doing. That kind of just makes me wonder about this whole situation. I want to get your take on it real quick.
Well, first off, let's acknowledge what happened. Of course, they lost the game to the Cincinnati Bengals. Urban Meyer did not take the plane back with the team that Thursday evening back from Cincinnati to Jacksonville, Florida. He did, however, rent a car, go to Columbus, Ohio, where he does own a restaurant there near the Ohio State University. And yeah, there were some suggestive pictures that were taken of him in the midst of him having a evening out, if you will. Now, the question about him earning the respect of his team back comes directly from owner Shad Khan. Shad Khan and as well as the board of directors for the Jacksonville Jaguars had a sit-down conversation with Urban Meyer where some words were exchanged. A lot of them coming from Shad and Tony Khan. So, does he have to earn the respect of his team back? Yeah. I mean, when you have players coming out saying they don't know if their coach wants to be a coach or I'm going to use a direct quote, figurehead, I mean, it calls into question some people. But at the end of the day, again, like Jaguars do a great job doing, a lot of those conversations were kept in-house. Now, will he have to gain the respect of his locker room back? I can't answer that. I'm not privy to the full length of those conversations. A lot of players did say they were upset. And the main thing is they were upset that someone would go out and party after they just or a 4. I think that's what the big question was about, at least coming from inside that locker room. Now, I think people also have to realize this happened inside a restaurant that Urban Meyer does own. Urban Meyer not only owns but frequents. I think the biggest lesson learned here is that Urban Meyer has to realize, he hasn't been in the public eye for quite some time since he stepped down from being the head coach for the Ohio State University Buckeyes. So he has to get back used to the fact that eyes are on him. Not only eyes are on him, cameras on him. Understand and please understand this on why the NFL and Jacksonville Jaguars are taking this so seriously. This video was initially released by TMZ. So when TMZ gets a hold of anything, yeah, it's an issue. And so the NFL likes to come down hard when stuff like that happens, and so that's why you have people like Shad Khan and Tony Khan and company jumping on this. So, I mean, right now, again, it's something that's being discussed in-house. How long it will be in-house is a question that can only be answered later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's my issue on some of this stuff. If you worked in a job or a business anytime, and you have an employee, and especially if the employee is basically a new hire, and this employee is hired as a supervisory position, and it seems like from the day you hired him, seemed like every month or so there's been not major issues, but a minor issue you have to take that person to task. I won't say him or her, that person to task with. It makes you question: did you hire the proper person? So you think about all the little things that Urban Meyer has done in this process of supposedly learning how to be a head coach in the National Football League. Things that you figure being a head coach in a major Power 5 school, you would already understand. You would already understand the perception is there's a camera everywhere you go. The perception is your words mean more because of the position that you hold above what everybody else says, especially when you're preaching to your players and staff. This is how you should conduct yourself on the field of play and off the field of play. These things that come into question, the things he's been fined already by the league for things, just all kind of minor setbacks. And not to mention, it doesn't help when you haven't won a game. And then when on top of that, when people can legitimately call into question coaching hires, coaching decisions, as much as that Thursday game, like going for it on 4th and goal when you could have got the points, first of all. And if you're going to go for it, I get it. But you put your quarterback in the shotgun when you're inches away from the goal line, when you got a 6'6" guy could basically just reach it over the goal. These types of things, and then you go and you deal with the loss by going to a bar without your team. I'm thinking, okay, hey guys, all of us, let's go to my bar. We had a loss. Let's go, down our troubles together. Come with me and let me invite you over here, and then we can catch the plane and we come back tomorrow. You know what I mean? Something. It's just me. That where was the inclusivity? And here's the reason I'm saying that. There was a certain quarterback of the Washington football team in his rookie year was caught out in town drinking and stuff, and around with the COVID and didn't have a mask on. Next thing you know, he's cut. You get what I'm saying? And he's a player, and they're supposed to hold coaches to higher standards. These things could be seen, could be viewed. And when you're talking about a small market team like Jacksonville, when you're talking about this man is now endorsing several products and several companies here, do they want that image now of you being with women, whether it was your fault or not, or out in public intoxicated? Do you want that to be the face of your corporation now? Because these people are paying you to be their spokesman. So it's a lot of things come to question. And then when your owner takes you to task, it's a lot of things that make you question. And then you wonder how much leeway does he get with anything else as far as the rest of the season? Is there a mandate on now you got to really put these games in, or okay, you can't afford to have any other incident. You know what I mean? We can't have you dealing with, you can't even get a traffic ticket, my friend. You know what I mean? We need you being on the straight and narrow of the straight and narrow, even more than what you say these players doing. give you an example. There was a press conference, obviously, today with Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence was obviously asked about the situation and does he have the trust of the locker room. I mean, Trevor did what he said what he had to say. You know, you really don't know how they really feel because they probably won't tell you out there. They're going to say the typical player, coach, and follow the company line speech, you know, and that they respect him and stuff like that. He had meetings with the team and individual meetings with some of the players. It's just an ugly ugly, unfortunate situation. I don't even know if that could have been avoided. The only way I figured that he could have been avoided if he had not went to his restaurant and definitely not had drinking. You know what I mean? The worst question for him is the thing he's got to deal with at home now, because more than anything, you got to deal with the missus who, you know, is now embarrassed. You know, she was embarrassed by your actions or inactions, and then I don't see he did anything illegal or anything wrong outside of something that could be said, well, done immoral. But the girl was on him. It's not like I didn't see any photos of his hands on her. You know what I mean? I think she came up on him, and he was too intoxicated to probably think in his right mind, hey, we don't need this. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes forward, especially with the Titans coming to town this weekend. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what the fans' reaction in the stadium once he gets there. You know, there's a lot of people that I've spoken with doesn't really care about this. You know what I mean? He's a man. He's grown. Whatever. I get it. But when you're talking about a team that's on what is it now 19-game losing streak as a franchise, and you were brought in to revive this franchise, this is just another episode or lack of a better phrase, an issue that the franchise doesn't need to be dealing with.
Wow. And it's interesting that we're talking about this. You know, my of course, as being a media member for that covers the Jacksonville Jaguars, my phone's been buzzing for the past 5 hours, and rightfully so, because as I open the ESPN app, you guys,
I see it.
There's a current press conference going on with Urban Meyer that just ended. But the point that I'm trying to make is like, yo, to the uninitiated, it's a very, very uninteresting story. We're wondering why does this matter so much. But I think we have to sit back and realize that one, over the last, I want to say 10 years, at least, the NFL has taken brand over anything almost when it comes to protecting their image. Mm-hmm. And regardless of natural law or legalities, the NFL is going to protect the shield. And so what you have right now is a franchise basically trying to beat NFL to the punch. And granted, while we might find it aggravating to a certain extent or wonder why this is going on, let them handle it, and let's be aggravated for a little bit. And then at a certain point, what Shad Khan is doing is also showing you that no one is above contestation. And as a fan, I think you should appreciate that as an owner, from your owner. And moreover, you watch that and you're thinking to myself, if he can sit there, if Urban Meyer can sit here and take these bullets that be thrown out there, because we know Jacksonville media is unrelentless to small things, and you see how we get with major things. If he can sit there and take those bullets, then maybe he's our guy. But if this is something that is going to shake him or make him, catch another back spasm that made him retire the two
heart issue.
You know what I mean? So if he can take this, then he's the guy. But if he can't, then Shad Khan knows what his next move, because we've seen him pull the trigger on firing people before, and he's not afraid to do it. So
yeah, I mean, it's a Wednesday afternoon. This is the major story because there is no other relevant stories outside of regular trades and stuff. So the timing for him is just terrible. Terrible. Today was the first day of practice for this week's game with the Titans. And people are talking about what you did over the weekend instead of your preparation trying to win your first game of your professional NFL career against your probably most hated rival. And the Titans are eating this up because they're flying under the radar, and they know this is a distraction for the Jaguars. And this is just not what we need when Derrick Henry's coming to town. And God only knows that this man goes berserk on this team like he did the last few games. What this man's got to do. So I'm actually kind of sending up a prayer for the man and the organization because they really need it. Because there's an old saying in entertainment: all news is good news. I mean, any kind of image is any kind of story that they're going to put on you is something that's publicity. All publicity is good publicity. Not in this case. Not in this case, because you're talking about a team that's struggling with corporate sponsorships in the first place, and your face of your franchise is bringing embarrassment on you. So you gotta get this stuff cleaned up real quick, and a lot of that starts by winning a football game. You can cure a lot of ills by winning. A lot of stuff will get swept under the rug by winning, and I'm praying for them. I'm praying that they actually win the game. And obviously, the city of Jacksonville needs this. The city itself does not need this negative image about it because there's already a negative image about especially from a lot of northern media about the franchise, about the city in itself. And this is just certain things you don't need. So hopefully, by the next show that we have next week, this is not even an issue anymore. We've moved on to something different and better. And we're talking about the Jaguars' first win and how they finally got over the hump, especially when, we want to talk about, how they narrowly lost this past week when they played probably their best game of the season and with some questionable decisions end up losing on the last second field goal.
Agreed.
All right. Let's move on. Let's talk a little college football. It's been an interesting 2 months. The first month of October, though, hit out with you got some SEC play. Kentucky got off their snide of their home loss streak to Florida and beat them. Florida State got their first victory of the season with a pretty good ending drive. I like the way they kind of come back at the end to get that drive to win it with the field goal. Alabama showed that they're Alabama, Georgia that showed that they're Georgia. And we're starting to get a little separation here. So I think the month of October is really going to be interesting. You got a few teams that still holding up the fort for the Big Ten, which I thought pretty much was dead. But Iowa and Penn State seeming like they're holding the brand for that conference right now, when there's other conferences struggling. Oklahoma's still barely getting by people. It's going to be an interesting month, October. I think by the end of the month, we might already have our Final Four teams without even really having to worry about the last couple of weeks or the conference championships determined. I really got to feel it that way. Maybe with the exception of Georgia and Alabama, it wouldn't be surprising if both of them are undefeated going into the SEC championship game. I can get your thoughts on it.
I would tell you to hold off that partner. If any week more than any other, this is sleeper week, and people always tend to forget about sleeper week. And what I mean by sleeper week is those teams that people just sleep on. They're all scheduled for the top 25 this week. Let me go down this list for you. Coastal Carolina plays at Arkansas State, who's 1-4. And Arkansas State is 1-4, but they're 1-4 by losing games between 7 and 14 points. I'm gonna keep going for you. Cincinnati plays Temple. That Temple Cincinnati game. If you get bored Friday night and you ain't doing nothing, ain't got nowhere to go, hey, you need to go turn it on the TV and watch that. Stanford goes to Arizona State. Stanford is only 3-2. Arizona State's 4-1. That's going to be a good game, people. Vanderbilt goes down to Gainesville. And I'm not saying that Vanderbilt is the all be all and be all, but guess what? Florida's still licking a few wounds from that Kentucky loss. If they sleep on Vanderbilt, they'll get beat. Here we go. Georgia goes to Auburn.
Big rivalry game.
It's a big rivalry game, and it's a good game. Listen, people, don't sleep on Auburn this year. I'm trying to tell you now, they only 4-1, and yeah, Georgia has been the defense have been playing lights out, but that offense has not been helping the situation. People, listen, that's a good one. Really, the sleeper game that I want everybody to pay attention to: Oklahoma playing Texas. Oklahoma
Red River rivalry.
Oklahoma right now undefeated, but they're going down to Texas to play a 4-1 pissed off team. I'm telling you, folks, grab you some popcorn. Oh yeah, Maryland plays Ohio State. Both teams coming into that game 4-1. Listen, sleeper alert. Michigan playing Rutgers. Rutgers is only 3-2, but they have a very, very good offense. If that defense can hold up just a little bit against Michigan State, we got us another good one. Arkansas goes to play Ole Miss. Arkansas took their first L last week. Ole Miss is on 3-1. Arkansas standing at 4-1.
They took their first L too.
Exactly, people. Great game. Another sleeper that people are looking past. Boise State going to play BYU. Yeah, BYU is undefeated.
Good rivalry.
BYU is undefeated, but those rivalry games like that are unpredictable. Wake Forest going to play Syracuse. Syracuse is pissed off that they gave Mike Norvell his first win. Trying to tell you now, people, yeah, they're going to play some inspired football. SMU playing Navy. SMU should take that, but don't ever look past the midshipmen. That's not a game you should just mark
Midshipmen had a
down.
big win this weekend themselves. Why you talking?
Exactly my point. Thank you. Now the game of the week. Penn State versus Iowa. Both teams undefeated going in. Penn State number 4, Iowa number 3. Somebody got to go home with an L. Somebody got to go home with a W. Michigan playing Nebraska. Listen, yeah, Michigan is undefeated playing good football. Nebraska not that far off, people. Yeah, they 3-3, but they can lay some wood. A real good sleeper, Notre Dame taking on Virginia Tech.
Coming off that loss to Cincinnati.
Both teams coming off of losses. Listen, all right, y'all turn the TV off for that one early if you want to. Here we go again. LSU goes to see Kentucky. Kentucky right now undefeated, sitting at number 16, but LSU is 3-2 right now. Yeah, that's going to be another good one. A real sleeper. For some reason, I don't know what it is. This game always ends up being a good one. Alabama goes to see Texas A&M. If y'all can remember the last few games in this series, yeah, people. So listen, this is sleeper week. I understand, you got your 4, but I'd be a little hesitant to go ahead and write that with a pen.
Mm-hmm. I want to switch subject. I was going to talk a little NFL next, but I want to just go into this about this SEC, and not just SEC, but the college football in general. Let's just talk. This year's home field advantage has been tremendous for the home team. I remember watching Florida play Kentucky, and I was confident Florida could come out there with a win. I knew Kentucky had a much improved team and with a good team, and it wasn't going to be a cakewalk. But I figured that Florida would have a way to come and be able to pull that game out somewhere late like they normally do. That crowd, you gotta give the tip of the cap to the Kentucky crowd. They helped Kentucky win that game almost as much as Florida helped Florida beat Alabama. And then you look at, I think there was only one team in the SEC so far has come out on the road with a win like that. Well, I take that a couple because I think Kentucky barely got past South Carolina the week before, but it was a struggle. That and Alabama's, but it's been, you don't walk into these SEC buildings now with these, especially in night games, and going to come out there with an easy victory. Most time you don't come out with a victory at all. Home field advantage, thanks to the COVID being over with and the people are actually getting back in there. I think that year without having the fans kind of made the guys not understand and value what the home field advantage. I think they're really starting to see it now, especially if you're a visiting team. You have to really do extra now to prepare to be going on the road, because you think you're ready until you can't hear because everybody do all that clapping now instead of the snap count. And it cost Florida a blocked field goal was scored, turned into a touchdown. It cost them several false start penalties, was stopped and just screwed up some drives, scoring drives. So, and they did the same thing when Florida was hosting Alabama. It cost a couple. It actually saved Auburn against Georgia State too. So it's that home field advantage in college football, especially the SEC. And another place that was really evident when Auburn went to Penn State for the whiteout. Those home field advantage is really. I give you at least 2 to 3 points in a game for that crowd noise. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, you still got to play the game, but I mean, that's why people play college football at these big time schools. Florida seats literally 90,000 people. Florida State sits about 80. You know what I mean? And that's just here in the state of Florida. Not where, that's all they do is go to college football games like they do in Penn State and in Wisconsin and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, of course, home field is just what it's meant to be, home field.
Yeah, you're right. But it's really interesting that the impact the home field has had. That's my point. The impact that home field advantage has really played in college football games this year. Obviously, there's a few teams that didn't help. It really didn't help Ohio State against Oregon, because Oregon kind of had the lead and kept out on the lead. But if you can play competitive and you can keep yourself close, that home field can kind of get you over the edge. All right, let's go into some NFL talk real quick. Before we end the show, I wanted to talk about some stuff that I found interesting this year. Earlier, more and more before the trade deadline. Usually, there's a lot of trades at and right near the trade deadline, but this year has been particularly different. You had a lot of trades of some prominent players. Obviously, also you had some releases. To give you an example, Jalen Smith, the linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys, was released today. Gilmore was traded from the Patriots to the Carolina Panthers for a measly 6th-round pick. The Jaguars traded their former first-round pick to the Carolina Panthers. Don't know what they're trying to do with those two guys. They're maybe trying to have them in 2 lockdown corners, but with already pretty good defense. They've traded them, and there's been several other little small trades and moves this year earlier than normal. I mean, I'm not sure if the team still haven't really figured out what they want to do with themselves as far as their structure and stuff like that, but it's been an absolutely kind of crazy year as far as moves, trades, and all that this year, just so early in the season. What's your think?
No, what I think is teams are in survival mode. What we do have this year more than we've seen any other year is teams not willing, teams willing to pull that trigger a little early. I mean, you see it with the Patriots, with Stephon Gilmore, and people got to realize a lot of these teams are getting rid of people because they're not passing their physical tests. And with COVID, with everything going on, that's a reason to get rid of somebody. And it's an excuse that you can throw under the rug, no matter how good we think they were or they were at one time. So you saw that with Stephon Gilmore and the Patriots. We saw that here, C.J. Henderson. You don't produce now, we'll find somebody else to get you. And we may not find them this year, we might not find them next year, but we'll find them eventually. And even if we don't find them, we got rid of a few things. So you have that with the NFL, and it's going to be like that until they find their guy. That's what the NFL is. I mean, it's a business. We always make the joke NFL stands for not for long. And so at the end of the day, you're seeing this happen with these trades. You're seeing it happen with the way some people are structuring their salary cap for even next year. And you're seeing that happen with the way that a lot of teams are going about their business. The NFL is a business, people. If you don't like it, watch flag football.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but that's so with that being said, what do you predict the trade deadline? Do you think, people are gonna make moves? Will it be a heavier than usual trading frenzy this year because there's been so many moves already so early before the trade deadline? We haven't even had the games played in London yet.
No. First game will be played this Sunday, by the way. But no, I don't think it forces other teams to move. It forces you to look at your roster, what it does. And if you're not happy with it, then you start moving pieces around. But you don't just come to the chessboard and just say, hey, I'm just going to start moving my bishop and queen. You just wait to see if that's what's going to happen. And right now, the Panthers obviously looked at their board and didn't like what they had. So they started moving.
Mm-hmm. But another question on that. A lot of these guys have been shipped away for basically a song and dance. I forgot what the Carolina Panthers got for our guy here in Jacksonville, but they just got Gilmore for a song and dance. You got a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year for a 6th-round pick. I mean, that's basically a cup of coffee in NFL terms, Jamie Collins was just picked up by the Patriots, and he was just outright released. Jalen Smith for the Cowboys, just out and out release. Obviously, what's the message in your opinion being sent by these NFL teams with this way these things are being done right now?
Oh, that message is plain and clear. We held the cards. And people, and especially NFL players, and I mean my college players to understand this, and especially my high school players. Your face means more, almost as much as what you can do on the field. If an organization can't stand you, they'll get rid of you in a second. Mm-hmm. And that's what college too. But what we're seeing is a message being sent to other first-round picks. It's a message being sent to those 11 starters on both sides of the ball. A message being sent to that 8th, 7th, 6th year vet. You're expendable. Because there's a guy in the middle of Wichita, Kansas, getting trained to do exactly what you do, and he's going to be faster.
Do you see that there's been more of a youth movement right now instead of, obviously some veterans? Tampa Bay picked up, I can't think of his name again, veteran cornerback. But there's not a lot of veterans that are getting signed like they usually were. There's a couple, but not like you want. But there's an awfully lot of young players getting shipped off, and players that you would think that have value getting shipped to other teams. And I mean, it's just been a crazy beginning of this season, and we're just at, the first 4 games being completed, and I'm interested to see, what happens. Does this trend continue for the rest of the season, or what do you have any predictions of something that you think that might happen?
Well, you just made an interesting statement, and I like the way you worded it. It's that you think would have value. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like Richard Sherman. I mean, well, let me rephrase. I'm sorry. I was never a fan of Richard Sherman. I think Richard Sherman is a system cornerback. I think if you play Richard Sherman on one side, you always got to put a safety on top of him because he's going to get beat. Richard Sherman has had awful footwork since his 3rd year in the league. When he messed his ankle up, and he's expendable. He's a great tackler. He's always going to be physical because that's just the game he's been playing since college. But he's not he's someone that can
cover guy.
He's always going to be in danger of getting burned. Mm-hmm. And so that's the way the Buccaneers think. And I go back to the way you said it. It's someone that you think or may have thought of had value. Mm-hmm. Bruce Arians thinks the world of someone like Richard Sherman. But there might be, the head coach of the Washington football team might not have cared what Richard Sherman does. You know what I mean? The general manager for the Carolina Panthers could give a crap what Richard Sherman says or does. Mm-hmm. And so, to take an old phrase is everyone has an opinion. Mm-hmm. But if you're not in the room, you don't know whose opinion matters more. But at the end of the day, the biggest opinion matters is the 3 people. The person who owns the franchise, the person who gets to write on the card and turn that pick in, and then the guy who coaches them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they don't care, then the fan is just left caring by himself.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, there's some things out there, just for a Jaguars perspective, they're struggling in several areas. Is there anybody in mind that you think that's available out there in the street, a veteran that you think they should give a phone call to, in your opinion?
Yeah, Cam Newton.
Really? Explain.
Yeah. I want everybody to go back in time with me 1 year to a Trevor Lawrence playing at Clemson. And if you can find it, Coach, please show it to me. Show me a complete series of offensive football where Trevor Lawrence's hand was under the center.
And then Clemson, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't. But you even said it earlier. They were right there on the 1 yard line, and
went out a shotgun and ran an option.
Went out a shotgun and ran an option. We ever think why that is a thing? I'll tell you why. Because Trevor Lawrence fumbles the ball 32% of the time when his hand is under the center. So listen, again, as fans, as analysts, as coaches, friends, whatever, when we watch football on Sundays, we have the omniscient power to have 20/20 vision of the game. Because we're seeing the after effects of weeks-long practice, of weeks' work. We're seeing the end product. We're not seeing Trevor Lawrence struggle in practice because he can't take snaps under the center. We're not seeing this offensive line blocking air just running through plays. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing this defense who goes over tackling drills against a ball work out against a complete full team. So we have the autonomy of being able to say, well, that didn't work out. Mm-hmm. But we don't have the autonomy to say what was the original plan. Mm-hmm. We just have 20/20 vision after the fact. So we can, as a fan, as a media member, as a coach who coaches something else, we can say, well, that didn't really work. They should have did this. Well, yeah, they probably should have, or they probably could have, but they chose that because something else didn't work beforehand. And was there? And I'm sorry, I'm getting off the question, but I said all that to answer this. There's a lot of guys that they get. I put out Cam Newton because Cam Newton can get under center. Cam Newton can go on a shotgun pistol wherever you want him and still be effective as a whatever long he's been in the league. And that's just a name. There are plenty of other names that we can go pick up. You got to realize the NFL, they have this thing called fantasy football. That's what they do. So, is there plenty of people that they can go get? Absolutely. But you got to realize, I'm the guy paid to cover them, not the guy that paid to pick them. And that's a task done by Trent Baalke and company. And I could give them a list of 100 people they should or shouldn't get. If they don't pick one, I have no right to be mad.
I have an interesting name for you. Heard some rumors that he might be moved to teams, maybe Denver Broncos, because they're not sure of their quarterback situation. I want to get your take on this. There's been a rumor around that I heard about. There's maybe some talks that's going to be between the Buffalo Bills and Denver about Mitch Trubisky. What are your thoughts on that?
None. I'm sorry. Not to be pessimistic about it. If that's what the move they want to make, that's the move they're going to make. But they got to realize they're getting out Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky works well with this offense. Does he really work well with that offense? So
the reason why I was like that, because people are saying, because he, the little spot duty that he's had with Buffalo, he's looked 10 times better than he was with the Chicago Bears. And that, the thing is that had he been in an like for a better phrase, an Adam Gase situation with the coaching staff there, would they not put him in the best situations to succeed? And by him going now over to Buffalo, and they're really coaching him up, and now you can see his true potential, and he can actually be a franchise quarterback in the right system with the right coaching. Do you see that as a potential? Do you think that's what's happened with Mitchell Trubisky, that he's been with the people that can actually get him to be a good professional quarterback, and because he was not properly prepared with the Bears? Do you think that's...
Here's the thing. I can say that. I could say if Jamarcus Russell was drafted by the Carolina Panthers, that he probably would have had a longer career. I can also say that if Ryan Leaf didn't get drafted to the Chargers, we might not have never heard of someone called Eli Manning. Listen, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about that. The NFL and football and sports in general is a game of preparation and luck. Some pieces work well with others, some pieces work well with another set. And it's just, I never personally go into hypotheticals with that because I don't know. And that's another game of what ifs that I don't play.
I got you. No problem. But that was good, because that's one of the things we just wanted. Because, like I said, with all the stuff going on so early in the season, especially with a new 17-game season, things are being moved around pretty early. And, it's like people are not kind of antsy around in these teams. They're not trying to really, see what their team's gelling. But maybe they know more than we do, because obviously they do, because they're in the buildings and make those decisions early right now instead of late. And maybe they're making sure, let's get out in front of these situations before they get us to a point where we might be out of the playoff situation or playoff contention altogether. So we'll see as it goes forward. We'll see what happens with this trade deadline. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if there's a big frenzy going as we get close to that. Well, my friend, we did another good show. Once again, folks, if you like what you see here, you like our content, please hit that like button. Also subscribe. And last but not least, please patronize Team Sportswear Direct. Watch game film. The Women's Tackle Football League, support what they're doing over there. Last but not least, the DEM Project. And for my illustrious co-host, Andre L. Sullivan, our great producer, Granville Mulifalo, All Sports High. We'll see you back here next week of another great episode of the Terry McGriff Show. And y'all be blessed.